Hey there, everyone. It is currently the 5th of July, 2015. Meteorologist Robert Spetta here with you once again. Thank you if you watched my previous update on Linfa or Ige, which is currently impacting the Philippines. But we also have two other tropical systems we're continuing to monitor out here. We, of course, have Tropical Storm Chan-hom, which is really causing some problems there in Guam and Saipan, but also Nangka, which is also impacting some islands east of Guam, Saipan. Actually, some pretty significant damage being reported out of there as well. But let's continue to talk about this storm system because it really is the big topic out here, not only for the Mariana Islands, but also this is going to be a major player in the weather for the southern Japanese islands as we go ahead into the mid and latter part of this coming week. Let's take a look at the satellite imagery though. And what we have going on with our storm system is the center of circulation has already passed the islands out here, but if you are located on Guam, I'm sure the weather does not feel like that storm is over and gone off towards the west just yet, because you have that inflow wrapping in from the south. Our storm system's actually starting to regain a lot of its organization that it lost late last week, and it's starting to build back up to likely back to typhoon intensity by Monday into Tuesday. But really all that inflow is flowing in from the south, and if you're located out here on Guam, it has been causing some issues. Actually, there has been widespread reports of some localized flooding, even some trees down. And flights are also continuing to be delayed. And this was just an image I took, screen captured from a flight tracker right before I did this video update. And what you can see is a lot of these flights off here towards the northwest, they've been in holding patterns out here because they took off from various airports, and eventually they just got to a point where they weren't allowed to land below the minimums for landing out here in Guam at this time. Actually, visibility down below a half mile and ceiling below 1,000 feet. Many of these flights have just been having issues getting in here. So this is definitely having an impact on travelers out here, not just people who are living on the island who have to just basically stay indoors throughout the day here on your Sunday and most of your holiday weekend out here for that matter. So on the satellite, we have Linfa over here towards the west, of course Chan-hom, and there is our other storm system Nangka, which as I mentioned is continuing to bring some issues out there for a lot of these smaller islands just towards the east of Chuuk. Actually, one place reported that probably one of the worst storms that hit that area in 15 years. So let's talk about the forecast though with Chan-hom, and I'm really keying in on this one, guys, because of the fact that this is probably going to be the stronger of all these storm systems which are setting up out here the last several days. We have three back-to-back storms. This is pretty impressive, and even though the Western Pacific is known for having tropical activity, having three at the same time is not very common, actually pretty rare. So all this is going on, and we also still have Raquel south of the equator as well, so four storm systems really in the same area. Right now though, with our storm moving west at 10 kilometers per hour, winds at 45, gusting to 65 knots. So as I mentioned, this is still a tropical storm. It is expected to re-intensify though. Pressure is expected to go down below 990 HPA as we go ahead into the rest of Sunday, below 970 by Monday into Tuesday, putting this upwards of that typhoon intensity. Typhoon watch is actually still in effect there for Guam. We still have flash flood warnings and typhoon warnings there in the Saipan as well, and also over towards Rota. These are expected to dissipate out as we go ahead through the next 24 hours as this storm system heads off there towards the west. We can even take a look, a little bit closer view here, and I do want to mention basically through the rest of Sunday you're still going to see these winds coming in from the south across the island of Guam, but as we head through Monday it should start to taper off and conditions definitely will be improving out here, and that's some fantastic news. I know it's been a long weekend, but at least once you start getting back into the work week, those conditions are really going to start to improve once all that moisture gets sucked in with our storm as it heads off there towards the west. It's still going to be having a long-term impact though back towards the west into the Philippines just because of that moisture inflow coming in around with this one, and also Ige, which is over there too. As far as Guam is concerned with our other storm Nangka, unless anything changes drastically, maybe Saipan might get a little impact from this by late next week if this does head a little bit farther down there towards the south, but I think it's the northern Mariana Islands, many of these islands which are uninhabited, which are going to be taking the brunt of that storm system, which is expected to be a typhoon at that point. So let's get into the forecast here, and you can even see here once I scroll ahead into Thursday of next week, if you're located on the southern Japanese islands, specifically here into Okinawa and over towards Miyakojima, we have our storm, and it's going to be a pretty potent typhoon by the time it does head out here. Talking about maybe not a super typhoon intensity, but still winds around 120 to 125 knots. Potentially, if it does intensify stronger than that, we could see that 130 knot threshold. Let's take a look at the forecast though, and I just showed you a second ago here with the JTWC track. We have our storm tracking away from Guam, and it does eventually head over here towards the southern Japanese islands, moving just towards the southwest of the Kadena Air Base, which is listed right there. That's just north of Naha, for those of you who aren't familiar with this area. Basically heading into Thursday afternoon into the evening hours as it just pushes down here towards the south. Now, this is still an extended range forecast, and I do think it's basically lining up between Miyakojima and over here towards Okinawa. They're going to be impacted by this storm. I'm pretty confident at this point. All the models are have a pretty good consensus at this time. They are wavering between these two islands, and if you are located on Okinawa, that's a pretty big difference. If this hits Miyakojima, Okinawa's just going to see about tropical storm strength winds. And every time this happens, people there, especially military, aren't used to these storms. They always go, where was a typhoon? Well, hey guys, it is a pretty significant difference if this does hit one island or the other. Now, if it does full on right front quadrant, as this indicates, just off the coast of Naha, you're going to get hit by the right front quadrant, and that's going to bring some pretty nasty weather out here. Let's take a look at the JMA track as well. Actually, I do want to mention this before I get into the JMA track. We have this storm intensifying. It is moving over some warmer sea surface temperatures, but not only that, vertical wind shear out of it is dropping off significantly. It's escaping the TUT, this shear that has been provided by the upper atmosphere back here towards the northeast. That's going to be moving in an absolutely favorable area for further development, and that's why we do expect this to continue to intensify up to a rather strong typhoon. JMA's track, keeping it towards the southwest of Okinawa, closer to Miyakojima than what JTWC is having at this time. More or less, this is just based on long-range model ideas and the numerical outputs, what they're getting off of this. I personally think it's going to try to turn more towards Okinawa. One big reason I thought it was going to turn in this direction in the first place was the fact that interaction with Linfa, which is over here towards the west, but also once it gets into this area, it's going to start to interact with the jet stream. I think a due west storm hitting China is not likely. It's likely going to turn towards the northeast, towards Korea. That's my personal thoughts on it, based on historical data with the climate of this area. Once they hit the southern Japanese islands, they typically turn towards the north this time of year. We're still pretty early in the season. This was August into September. I would lean more towards a China impact, but hey guys, 4 to 5 days out, still a little bit uncertain. But Miyakojima and Okinawa is really where the line is put at this point. You can see here, even with the GFS ensemble, these are all the different outputs from the model in the extended range. It still is not exactly sure on what exactly is going to be happening with this. And then this is the ECMWF, basically lining up somewhere in the southern Japanese islands. Do want to note though, it really has taken out any possibility of a recurvature with this storm system. This is coming towards you in the southern islands. At the very least, if it doesn't hit you, you're going to be seeing some sort of nasty weather with this by Thursday into Friday. So my forecast for Okinawa: Tuesday, partly cloudy skies. We're going to be setting up with a high of around 89 degrees. I'm putting this in Fahrenheit, because I know a lot of people watching there don't really get Celsius very much. Increasing winds though by your Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to be looking at very least tropical storm strength conditions. Typhoon conditions possible if the storm does decide to line up and put bullseye right on there on the main island of Okinawa. Alright guys, that is going to be all for me right now. Definitely continuing to post more updates on this storm system. Actually, I intend on flying south to Okinawa on Tuesday. If you want to meet up actually for an interview or anything like that, or if you just want to meet with me, that would be fantastic. I always enjoy talking to some weather geeks out there. So if you are located in Okinawa, please let me know. Just post it down there, comment, or write us on Facebook and Twitter. You can write me at Robert Spetta or at Westpac Weather. As always, though, stay safe, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys.